This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Running a small business means I wear lots of hats. When I put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn Hiring Pro to make it easy. LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps manage my hiring workflow, puts my job post in front of a unique network of professionals, and matches me with the best candidates for my business. I can also share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. No wonder most small businesses say they'd use LinkedIn Hiring Pro again. Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts, the podcast that tolls for thee. I'm your host and resident medium, Jennifer, and tonight I have for you spooky stories of death omens. There's an old belief that death doesn't just arrive, it announces itself. A knock at a door with no hand behind it, a cry on the wind with no throat to make it, a bird that throws itself against your window in the dead of night, insistently trying to tell you something. For centuries, across cultures that never touched, people have sworn the same thing, that death sends a messenger ahead of itself, that if you know how to listen, you get a warning. After the spooky, stay for the spiritual. Join me at my seance table for a message from the spirits. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. As your professional medium, I open the space for a message to come close for someone listening. Linger near and see if tonight's session is for you. But first, let's explore the chilling concept of the death omen right now. We start in Ireland with the most famous death messenger in folklore, the banshee. Banshee in Irish means woman of the fairy mound. Picture the Irish countryside a century and a half ago. No streetlights, no sound at night but the wind moving through the hedgerows, and the occasional dog barking somewhere off in the dark. In that kind of silence, a cry doesn't just startle you. It travels. It gets inside you before your mind even catches up to what you're hearing. That's the world the banshee belongs to. She's said to attach herself not to a place, but to a bloodline. Old Gaelic families like the O'Neills, the O'Gradys, the O'Connors, each one carrying their own banshee like an inheritance nobody asked for and nobody could refuse. When death was coming for someone in that family, she cried, not a scream, a keen. Keening is the traditional Irish lament for the dead, sung at wakes and funerals for centuries. And that's what made the banshee's cry so unsettling. It didn't sound like a monster. It sounded like grief, like mourning that hadn't been earned yet, arriving early, uninvited, ahead of the body it was mourning for. Some families spoke of their banshee almost tenderly, an old woman of the house, a guardian who watched over them for generations and grieved right alongside them when the time finally came. Others described something colder, a hag with tangled white hair and eyes like the inside of a well, a warning, not a comfort. Either way, if you heard her, you didn't have long to wait. In 1887, a British periodical published an account of an elderly Irish woman long since gone from her homeland, living out her final years in a small room above a noisy street in Bristol. She still spoke of Ireland the way people speak of somewhere they never really left. And she told a story from her childhood, decades earlier, before she knew the first thing about banshees or about death. Her mother had sent her out one winter's day to check on her grandmother 3 miles away. The road was buried in snow, not just a light dusting, but deep enough that every step took effort, deep enough to soak straight through a child's boots. She walked the road alone. When she reached the house, she let herself in, expecting the usual: a warm fire, the smell of turf smoke, her grandmother in her chair. Instead, she found the old woman lying so still, so quiet, that she assumed, the way children do, that she was only sleeping. She called out to her, no answer. So she did the only thing that made sense to her small, unknowing mind. She stepped back outside to gather a handful of snow, thinking she'd press it gently to her grandmother's face and wake her. And that's when she heard it. A cry, distant at first, so faint she almost convinced herself she imagined it. But it didn't fade. It grew, closer and closer still, until it wasn't distant at all, until it was moving around the outside of the house itself, circling once, then twice, each pass a little nearer than the last. And on the third pass, it stopped, right outside the door. She didn't move. She couldn't. She would say years later that she felt the cold of that moment more than the cold of the snow she was still holding in her little hands. She had no idea, lying there in the silence, that the answer to what she was hearing was that her grandmother had passed away sometime before she even arrived, hours before the girl had even set foot on that snow-covered road. No one in that family could ever explain what made that sound, only that it came 3 times, and that it stopped exactly where it needed to. The banshee isn't the only messenger in this tradition. Sometimes the warning doesn't cry out at all. Sometimes it just knocks. Across Ireland, Scotland, and the wider British Isles, there's a belief in what people simply called the death knock. 3 raps at the door, even, deliberate, unmistakably purposeful. Nothing like wind, nothing like a branch against the frame. You go to answer it, heart already tightening in your chest for reasons you can't quite name, and there's no one there. No footprints in the dirt, no sound of anyone walking away. Some traditions tie the knock directly to the banshee, as if it's how she announces herself before the crying starts. Others treat it as something entirely separate, not a spirit at all, just death itself, patient and polite, asking to be let in before it lets itself in anyway. There's a case preserved in Ireland's National Folklore Collection, gathered from a woman named Mrs. Gallagher from County Donegal, from a place where the wind off the Atlantic makes itself known in every doorway, every creak of an old house settling for the night. Even so, Mrs. Gallagher was certain about what her own grandmother had described to her. 2 nights before her grandfather died, there came 3 knocks at their door. Not wind, not a settling house, 3 knocks, clear enough to pull her grandmother out of her chair and across the room. She opened the door onto nothing. No one at the step, no one in the yard beyond it, as far as the dark would let her see. 2 nights later, he was gone. It's a small story, as these things go. No apparition, no scream in the night, just 3 knocks and an empty doorstep, and a house that never quite felt as quiet again. And maybe that's exactly why it survived, this belief in the death knock, passed down carefully enough to end up written into an archive more than a lifetime later. Not every death omen comes from the world of spirits. Some people believe that it came from the animals already living right alongside them. A dog that plants itself in front of an empty corner of the room and won't stop howling, no matter how you coax it. An owl calling out in broad daylight when it should be long asleep. Cattle that balk at the barn door they've walked through 10,000 times without a single hesitation. Birds that don't just fly near a window, they throw themselves at it again and again, like something's driving them to do it. The folk explanation was simple. Animals sense what we can't. And here's the thing, that's not pure superstition dressed up as fact. We know today that animals genuinely do pick up on things that pass us by entirely. Shifts in air pressure ahead of a storm, the faintest tremors before an earthquake, minutes before any human feels a thing. Documented cases of dogs detecting cancer through scent alone, or sensing a seizure minutes before it happens. So maybe it isn't such a leap after that. For centuries, people watched their animals reacting to something and quietly assumed the worst. Owls carried an especially heavy weight in this tradition. In the early 1900s, newspapers reported on the death of a Brooklyn woman, Miss Josetta O'Neill. For 2 days before she died, a dark feathered screech owl had taken to following her, appearing on the grounds of her home, passing near her again and again in that unsettling way wild animals aren't supposed to behave around people. Her fear of it built with each sighting. Her husband would later say she lived in genuine dread of that bird for days, jumping at shadows, refusing to go out after dark. Then, one night, alone in her room, the owl struck her window in the dark, the shriek that penetrated through the glass, sudden and violent enough to disrupt whatever calm she had left. She reportedly died within hours, her death attributed at the time to fright-induced heart failure. A woman, by every account, that was scared to death by an owl at her window. Whether you believe the owl caused what happened, predicted it, or simply happened to be circling at the worst possible moment, somebody wrote it down as fact in a real newspaper about a real woman, and it has sat on record undisturbed for well over a century. A cry outside a window, a knock with no one behind it, an owl at the glass. Different countries, different centuries, no contact between the people telling these stories, and yet the belief is nearly identical everywhere. Something comes first. Death doesn't just happen, it sends word. So here's what strikes me about all 3 of these stories. There's a psychological read on this, and it's worth sitting with. Grief doesn't necessarily wait for the moment of death. It often starts the second we sense someone we love is fragile, is fading, is running out of time. In that state, the mind goes looking for meaning in everything. A dog barks a little longer than usual, and suddenly it's not just a dog barking, it's something to hold on to or to brace against. But I'd push back gently on the idea that this makes the belief less real to people who lived it. Because look at what the omen actually does. If you believe in it, it gives you time to sit at a bedside a little longer, time to prepare instead of being blindsided, time to say the thing you meant to say. Maybe that's the real function of the death omen across every one of these cultures. Not a curse, not even really a warning, a mercy dressed up as something frightening. And if the dead, or whatever walks ahead of them, can warn us before they go, it makes you wonder what they might still have to say once they arrived.
I'm Livy Dunn, All-American gymnast and Viore athlete. When you travel and train as much as I do, you find happiness where you are. On the mat or on the sand, movement and comfort are essential. That's why I live in Performance Joggers by Viore. Made from DreamKnit fabric that's made of 89% recycled materials, effortlessly soft and made to move as much as I do. My happiness starts here, in the softest joggers on the planet. Get 20% off your first purchase at viore.com/Livy. That's VUORI.com/LIVVY. Exclusions apply. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Go to viore.com/Livy and discover the full versatility of Viore clothing. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions.
Welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. Thank you for joining me at my seance table at this time. As your resident medium, this is the segment that I call Message from the Spirits, where I open the space for spirit to come close, connected to someone listening for a message for them. Tonight, as I work, I have with me the plant hibiscus. You may not know this, but in the language of flowers, hibiscus means delicate beauty and consumed by love. You can use this flower in love spells and charms to bring about passion. It's a great flower component to use in anything associated with good fortune or love. And it's also associated with divination. You can put it in water for scrying. I'm going to clear my mind. Open the space for a spirit to come close for someone listening right now. Okay. Mother, grandmother energy is coming in. She is showing me how she loved the nuances of life, how she took so much joy in experience things, traveling, the little details that could make people smile around her that she could share with them. A very emotionally grounded woman who was not afraid of sharing her heart with you. She loved to share stories about her past. It feels like she was either a nurse or a volunteer. Always took very good care of people. She used to have a funky little car. It feels very European, small, rounded edges, cute headlights. She is sharing that she used to love going to garage sales with you. And she adored her little fish tank in her living room. You can't look at a fish tank still without thinking of her. One other small detail, Mary Jane shoes, a bunch of them, different colors. Some had little flower patterns on them. I'm seeing them as purple. cute shoes. Again, she really delighted in the details in life. Okay, let's see what her message is for you this evening. She's saying she's proud of you in your career, that you're very successful, and she hopes that you know that people look up to you for guidance. You're very valued. She's saying if things feel a little overwhelming for you right now, consider some alone time. We tend to think that isolating ourselves has this negative connotation, but it really doesn't. Spend that quiet time alone, watch a movie, journal, go on a few walks if you have the opportunity, and really reconnect with yourself. It feels a little untethered right now, not in an extreme way, but it feels like there's time for some maintenance, just to keep things grounded and centered for you. You're always generous with others. Make sure you're generous with yourself as well. I think I'm going to leave it at that. If this message connects for you, I'm so happy that it reached you. I wish you all that grounding energy, all that centeredness. It'll rejuvenate you. It'll feel so good for you. Thank you and take care. Are you interested in booking a medium reading with me? Sessions are always unique, beautiful, and unpredictable, but never spooky. Visit italktoghosts.com/readings to pick a date and a time. And I'll let you in on a little secret. There's a special discount offer if you're willing to share your reading on the podcast. But no pressure. If you're feeling called to share this spiritual space with me, I would love to have you as a guest. I can't wait to meet you. And with that, dear listener, we have reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you enjoyed my spirit work this evening, as well as the discussion and stories about death omens. Has there ever been an experience of a death omen in your family? I would love to hear about it, so please reach out. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to, in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.